Putting Africa on, to me, is basically using the wealth that the continent has in our work. We have wealth in fabric in Africa, and it's only usually used in traditional clothing and traditional events, but it's time to use those resources for our modern fashion and everything, as opposed to sourcing from outside of Africa for cheaper alternatives and all of that. It's important to put Africa on because, for one, the fabric is great, super beautiful, and two, it helps with economic and social development within us, because sourcing from local artisans and local weavers and crafts makers makes sure the money is kept within the community, and it also helps support all these artisans. All your artisans are around you, really, so it's easier to source and everything. It's just one beautiful journey of creation.
I think it's a craft that solely depends on how wild your imaginations can be. So I think the limitations you face basically only depends on that.
As a designer, I like to see myself as a storyteller. I care about culture and its preservation. In fact, I care deeply about culture and its preservation because my dad was deeply rooted in culture, and I followed his footsteps. He taught me a lot about my culture and my heritage. So to portray this in what I do, I work with these weavers from a village called Akwete in Abia State, which is where I come from as well. And these women make these textiles called Akwete, which I infuse with sartorials to make the pieces for Emikas with. And all with the sole aim of taking this craft out of this local village and to other parts of Nigeria and the world at large.
I like the idea of traveling, researching, meeting these artisans. I think as a contemporary designer, it's not my job to just always to take. I think it's good to research with the intent of adding to or contributing to this conversation. When I'm there working with the artisans, it's those sort of like unconscious things, those mistakes that really end up becoming the most captivating things that we get to do. A friend of mine shared an interesting excerpt from a book with me, informed by this interesting Yoruba phrase called Asholanke Tato Kenyo. And it literally means we greet dress before we greet wearer. And what that is, like, it confirms the inseparability of like, performance, dress, and time in Yoruba culture. So I like the idea of that when presenting the collection, it's all like fused together. It's the clothes, it's the performance, creating this overall energy that sort of like makes the viewer understand fashion is a huge part of culture, and like it's a huge part of how we see ourselves. I think it'd be very important that we come back to like critically thinking about why we make clothes and how this whole idea of just taking. I mean, I love the idea of, I love clothes, I love beautiful objects, but I also like the idea of the consumer understanding the value of what they're buying. When you spend money on a beautifully crafted object, it's important that you are very conscious to enjoy that. What I do is it's all about slow craftsmanship and, so much time and research going into and everything. So I like the idea that in the next 10 years, we live in a world where there's a very conscious consumption going on. I hope that we all learn this lesson of slowing down.
When we talk about climate challenges, we used to say, what are we going to leave for the next generations? And this virus is confronting us. It's not about the next generation anymore. It's about now. What can we do now to save ourselves? And by saving ourselves, we save our planet, we save our culture, we save our knowledges. But we can reinvent ourselves. And I think that the healing process is that. And fashion is in the heart of this process, because fashion is about beauty.